Now I can identify with that. Mine happened the same way. At 14, I ran a high temperature, ended up damaging the nerves in both ears, and all of a sudden, I woke up one morning, and you know when you wake up and you're kind of between sleep and wake, you kind of roll over on the pillow and you hear this rustling in your ear. And then you start hearing the other sounds that are coming throughout the house, whether it's the furnace kicking in if you're the first one up, or the coffee pot going if somebody's beating you up. Not beating you up, but, you know. I woke up that morning and nothing. And the sound of nothing is surprising. And so I rolled over and rubbed my head from one side of the pillow to the other to make sure that what I was hearing, or I should say not hearing, was actually happening. And it was. And I remember getting up and yelling for my mother and not even hearing my own voice. And then 6 or 8 months later, it came back as quickly as it left. Now, only in one ear. Just a word to the wise, if you ever want to have a conversation with me, don't sit on this side. There's nothing there. Well, at least no hearing there. You have to sit over here. Either that or you have to poke me. Usually when we go out to a restaurant or something, I'll have Nancy sit over on this side so she can jab me with her elbow and say, "Talking to you." Put yourself in this man's shoes. Something happened early on. His hearing went, which impeded his speech. And so he's trying to survive in a world that wasn't very accommodating to those who couldn't hear and to those who couldn't speak for most of his life, and particularly through his adult life. The people around him had pity on him, and they said, "Jesus, if you could just bless him, it would do a lot for his spirit. Offer a blessing." Jesus says, "I can do better." So he, with these graphic words, does what Jesus does. And more than just a blessing, he heals him. And the first words that this man hears are Jesus' words. His voice, his face, his appearance say, "Be open." That's where it starts. And then Jesus gives these kind of surprising words to the crowd. Don't tell anyone. That's what I say to you every Sunday, right? When you go forth from this place, having heard the gospel, having encountered Jesus, don't tell anyone. No. But Jesus did. I think there's a part of it that Jesus said, "I don't want everyone just to come clamoring to me because of this healing. There's so much more that needs to be offered." The psychology part of me, though, says there's a psychological reason why he told them, "Don't tell anyone," because he knew that the hardest thing to keep is a secret, right? This is a secret. This man's been healed. Don't tell anyone. So what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go keep that secret by telling their husband or their wife or their child and telling them, "Now don't tell anyone." And so they don't tell anyone except for their friend who won't tell anyone, who tells a couple other people who won't tell anyone. And it says from that time forward, the crowds grew. The more Jesus said, "Don't tell anyone," the more they told. The more he says, don't tell the good news, the more it came out. The more he said, keep this to yourself, the less they could. Maybe that's the message we need today. Don't tell anyone. This is a secret. Because at that point, maybe we would go out and find it irresistible to tell everyone. So how does this fit in with Psalm 96 then? They seem to be centuries apart. And they are. One of the beauties of the Psalms is that it has the entire expression of our human emotions. All of our ups and downs, all of our emotional baggage that comes in there. And it's nice because it isn't just the good things that it sings of, it sings of even the difficult and the bad things. But in this particular case, it sings of the good, the gospel. This almost compulsion to have to tell. Listen to it again. And listen to the commands that come out of this psalm. What it is the psalmist is telling the people they must do. Sing a new song to the Lord. Let the whole earth sing to the Lord. Sing to the Lord. Praise his name. And each day, proclaim the good news. That's the same word as preach the good news, or tell the good news, or testify to the good news. The only problem is we use those often in Christian circles to the extent that they begin to lose their meaning. And so we say, yep, brother so-and-so is going to get up and testify. We go, oh, here's the time to sleep. No, it's proclaiming this good news. It's this secret that's impossible to keep. It's telling the very thing that is incapable for us not to tell. It goes on to say, publish God's glorious deeds among the nations. Tell everyone about the amazing things he does. For great is the Lord. He is most worthy of praise. Now, that sounds very similar to Mark 7, doesn't it? Everything this man does is wonderful. The psalmist just puts it a different way. He is most worthy of praise. It's much more poetic. Wow, this guy's great. God is worthy of praise. O nations of the world, here are your commands. Recognize the Lord. Recognize that the Lord is glorious and strong. Give to the Lord the glory he deserves. Bring your offering. Come into his courts. Worship the Lord in all of his holy splendor. Let all the earth tremble before him. There's a balance, isn't there? We've gone through periods of our history where we saw God is off in a distance and so powerful and so fearsome that we couldn't even approach. And so we sent priests into the Holy of Holies, or we sent priests to pray for us. And then along came Jesus and said, no, you may all approach the Father. It is Abba, Father. And of course, that doesn't make any sense to us at all. Until we know what that says is, Daddy, would you hear my prayer? Daddy, I have a request. Imagine that, talking to the God of the universe, the God of all creation, and saying, Daddy, can you do this? And so that pendulum kind of swung back that way. We say, you know, if I can call him Daddy, he's got to be close. He's got to be a friend. He's got to be so warm and cuddly over